Hey there, so hopefully you've been thinking about picking up the Niu NGT and you just want to check out YouTube, see if there's anything that's going to sway you. I would say that lots of the pros and cons I talk about here will apply to any of the more powerful e-moped, e-scooter models that are currently out there. So the Super Socko, for example, which whilst it's got the motorbike stylings, is quite a similar setup to the Niu NGT. Okay, so in this video, I just want to talk about the pros and cons as I see it so far. Now, this is coming from a user that's got about 1,500 miles on the clock, so I've ridden it in all weather conditions. I've taken it on some like long road trips and some city driving, so I feel I've got a really good grip of the positives and the negatives and wanted to share them with you. Hopefully that will allow you to make an informed decision about whether or not you pick one up. Spoiler alert, I think they're amazing, but let's go through them one by one. So the first pro I've got here is the cost. Obviously, I dream of getting a Tesla or a Polestar. Until I can get to that point though, spending $3,000 on an electric vehicle is a bit of a dream. It's allowed me to reduce my carbon footprint in quite an affordable manner. So as something that you're going to use regularly, it's actually quite an affordable vehicle. So the current price for a Niu NGT is around $3,200, I believe. Obviously it's zero emissions, so there's no road tax to pay, and you're going to have 3 years without an MOT. There's very little to service on these machines as well, so ideally they're not going to cost you a lot down the line as well. The second big pro for me is the cost of running. Now, since purchasing this vehicle, I would say that the amount I spend on petrol for my car has probably reduced by about 2/3, simply because I'm just not using my car so much. I have a other vehicle that I can plug in and charge, and it just means that lots of the journeys that I would normally make in a car where I didn't really need to use the car, I'm now making on the Niu NGT instead, and actually I'm just saving so much money. So plugging these things in, charging them off the mains, it's going to cost you £1, maybe a couple of quid to charge to full, but you're going to get some range out of that. You're going to probably get around 50 miles range if you're just razzing on sports mode the whole time. If you're just doing kind of suburb or city commuting, you're probably going to get double that. It's a fabulous vehicle when it comes to the costs. The third pro for me, and particularly as this is my first two-wheeled vehicle, is it just feels safe. Like you feel like you're really aware of what the road is doing. You feel super connected. There hasn't been many occasions where I've felt unsafe on the vehicle. On the one occasion, it was just me being a wally, leaning on the front brake as I turned, and my back wheel happened to be on a manhole cover at the time. Slid out slightly, but managed to recover it. But on my day-to-day driving, I feel super safe on the vehicle and I feel really connected. Number 4, as a pro, the ride, it feels comfortable as well. I tend to use it in an unusual way. I think most people will pick up this vehicle to do short commutes. I do quite lengthy commutes on it, kind of 20-25 miles on it. And it very rarely feels uncomfortable. The seat feels nice and soft, even in kind of less enjoyable conditions like wind and rain. It still feels like an enjoyable, comfortable ride. The 5th pro for me is how quiet it is. It makes almost no noise. It has a little whir, perhaps. The loudest thing on it is the indicator. So essentially you can hear everything. Now, if you're out on the road, actually being really tuned into what's around you is vital, particularly when you're on 2 wheels. So knowing that there's a juggernaut creeping up on your right hand side, for example, to overtake you on an A road is really useful. They don't just suddenly appear because you couldn't hear them over the engine noise and you'd forgotten to check your mirrors. You feel really connected because of the quiet. It means also if you've got a headset or if you want like your Bluetooth set up to your helmet, it means you can play tunes and you don't have to have them super loud, damaging your ears. You can still hear the road over them. The 6th pro for me, and like this is probably the biggest one, and it was the reason I picked it up, was just that you know you're doing good. You know that you're reducing your carbon footprint. In fact, the app tracks the amount of carbon that you've saved by using the vehicle. So it's a nice little pat on your back from time to time to consider maybe you'd be using your car, your petrol car at that point, that you're on your electric vehicle and you're not polluting the atmosphere. For me, it's a nice pro. The 7th pro for me is that it's quick. And it's quick in a couple of ways. Firstly, it's an electric vehicle, so the acceleration is just instant. You're just off. If you've got this in sports mode at lights, you're going to be the fastest vehicle as soon as they hit green. You're going to be away before anyone else. It's fantastic because people look at you like you're on this dozy little scooter and you just have them off whenever you want. It's quick in terms of weaving through traffic jams as well. It's got a reasonable profile so that you are able to filter on it quite effectively. I wouldn't recommend as you're just getting started to go straight into filtering, but get used to it as soon as you can. You know, when you feel more comfortable with the maneuvering of it, start filtering through the traffic. I mean, part of the benefit of having 2 wheels is that you can just move through traffic jams as nice as you like. I would say that watch some YouTubers that are more experienced riders and learn from them. One of the great tips I had was like filtering at no more than 5 to 10 miles an hour above the speed of the cars around you, and it just means that you never feel like you're flying past stationary traffic, but you're still absolutely going to disappear on the horizon while their 4-wheeled friends are all still stuck in traffic. The 8th pro for me is it's just fun to ride. It's so much fun going anywhere, particularly when it's warmer weather, which we don't get a lot in the north of England, but it is fun to go anywhere. Anytime that I'm on that vehicle, I'm smiling, I'm grinning, I'm enjoying the scenery around me. I feel connected. I feel like I'm in nature despite the fact I'm on a vehicle. It's just super fun to ride. I can't say more than that. Otherwise, you know, go and test drive one, go ride one, get a pillion passenger. If you've not ridden 2 wheels before, which I hadn't before I purchased this vehicle, I just got my CBT and I purchased it. It's an unreal feeling, but it's something that's so valuable and so fun to do. So you can probably tell I'm pretty enthusiastic about the Niu NGT. There are a few cons. There's a few things that I would like to see improved as there's iterations of models in the future. The first one for me is the weight of the batteries. I've got to say, I was kind of surprised by how heavy they were, particularly because there's 2 in this vehicle. Some electric vehicles have 1 battery, there's 2, which obviously increases the range. It means you can go a bit faster, but if you're trying to carry 2 of them up the stairs to plug them in your bedroom, for example, you're doing a workout. It feels like you've earned a rest after it. The best solution is to have somewhere where you can plug it in, like in a garage, for example, without taking the batteries out. So you can plug the charger under the seat, you can just plug it in. So if you can park it in a garage with a mains adapter there, that's the best solution, because trust me, getting the batteries out all the time is an absolute pain in the arse. I had this vision that I would be able to kind of arrive at places, pull a battery out, take it in with me, and just charge it up while I was having a meeting, for example, and it's just so much faff. It isn't worth it, and there's been a few times I've had to really plan around that. So the weight of the batteries for me is rough. The second one is the charging time. It's not bad, but you just have to kind of tune into it. So one of the advantages, obviously, of petrol or diesel is you can just get it anywhere, and you're going to have to plan around charging. So if I don't have access to my car, or I decide I want to go somewhere on my bike, the night before, essentially, I have to be preparing for that. I need to plug my batteries in so they're ready charged for the morning. Ideally, charge them and then plug them in, because it is a bit of a faff, like I say, because they're so heavy, getting ready in the morning with 2 heavy batteries. But just the charging time, it's about 3, maybe 4 hours. I found it a little bit longer than the advertised time to charge when they're both plugged in. So it's not bad, but it's just something that you have to plan for, and it's maybe something that I didn't really consider as much, I suppose, when I was purchasing it, was you really have to plan ahead for when you're going to use the bike. The third pro for me doesn't really affect me too much. There's probably a couple of times, maybe once a week, this will kick in, and it's just the power. I mean, you're driving this usually on a CBT license, so there's only so powerful it can be, like a 125cc equivalent. But this 3 kilowatt motor means that essentially if you're on an A road, you're going to be hitting 48 mile an hour, I think is my top speed. I'm a bit of a hefty lad, so I'm about 105 kilo, 6 foot. If you're lighter, you might hit 50, but it does mean that if you're on a road with a 60 mile an hour speed limit, people are going to want to get past you, and I would say that's fine, just let it happen. If they hit a traffic jam, you'll be able to overtake them again, but you're on two wheels, you have to play it safe. So A roads, sometimes you feel a little bit underpowered, and also going up hills, like steep hills. There's one steep hill that I go over from time to time, and the maximum I can get out of it is around 25 miles an hour, and the speed limit on the hill is around 50. So I just kind of like move to the left, hazards on, and let people go over, but you feel like a little bit of a donut. Having said that, it's not built for that sort of commute. I just tend to kind of like beast it and take it out on these country roads. If you're just going around your city, you're probably never going to feel underpowered. And just to say, it doesn't stop me loving the machine. It just sometimes feels like an extra 10 mile an hour or a little bit more oomph, 4 kilowatt, whatever it might be. That would be the answer for me. So the fourth thing is that it is quiet. I've said quiet as a pro, but quiet as a con as well. People are really reliant on their ears rather than their eyes, which means that you get people stepping out from time to time. If you ever watch any motorbike YouTubers, they're always revving their engine to kind of alert dozy pedestrians. You can't do that. You've got this little toot horn, but actually you just need to be super aware of what is going on, because your warning systems aren't the same as anyone else. When you do a CBT, they'll say like, make sure people can hear you and make sure people can see you. One of those things is already gone. No one will be hearing you. You are like a silent assassin flying down those roads. So you need to take care to make sure that you're visible. Put your full beams on at all times. Like I drive 24/7 with my full beams on. Make sure that the clothing that you've got is appropriate. Like I bought a helmet with lights on. So just do what you can do to be visible. Drive defensively. Make sure that you understand that you cannot take on a four-wheel vehicle when it comes to collisions. So you keep out of people's way, you drive safely. The fifth con for me, and this will change, is that right now these vehicles are unusual. So insurers charge a lot. The premiums on these probably are not quite double maybe, but they're an extra few £100 than what they would have been on a similar 125 vehicle, a brand new 125. So if I was looking at like a Honda Super Cub, I think insurance around here in Liverpool where I am, a lot of 125s get stolen, so insurance is quite high. I think it was around £600 for a Super Cub. The insurance on this is £1,000. So just to kind of make sure that you fully understand the costs going into it, you're going to save money, but you're probably not going to save hundreds and hundreds of pounds. It's a fun vehicle to have, so do try and be careful with your insurance shopping. Make sure you price it up first before you do so. If you're buying it like I did for the planet factor, that probably isn't going to matter so much, but it is really worth considering that until the prices start to drop of the two-wheeled electric vehicles, premiums are still going to be a little bit kind of mega. The final con, and this is just something to bear in mind really if you're going from four wheels to two wheels in any way, this isn't specific about this vehicle, you have to factor in setup time. If I'm going to a meeting in my car, I can get ready and I can jump in the car and go. If I'm going to a meeting on my bike, I have to get my kit on, my waterproofs, my helmet, my jacket, and that can take time. I have to unlock my bike, I have to relock it up at the next place, I have to put the rain shield on, I have to get all my gear off, I have to find somewhere to put my stuff. So you have to really think about what you're going to use it for. Like as a bare minimum, you've just got to have a helmet on to ride legally in the UK, but you're going to need gloves, because even going 20 miles an hour down a suburban road, your knuckles are going to freeze off. So gloves and a helmet would be the minimum, but I would say you're going to want to ride with some form of protective armour at all points. Even if it's just a jacket with a little bit of plating in, I think that would be a good start. You're going to want something that's got thermal, you're going to want something that's got waterproof as well. And you'll realise that as you hit your first rainstorm. So hopefully that's been useful. Like I say, I absolutely love it. I'm really excited about seeing future generations. I'll probably keep this one for another year. Ideally in that time I will have done my A license. I'm looking at the electric motorbikes of the future and the new kind of Harley Livewire, etc. I don't think necessarily they're worth the price at the moment, but in a couple of years time I think there'll be some real competition in this sector and I'll be really excited to see the way it goes. If this video was useful, leave me a comment, let me know what you're thinking, whether you're thinking about the Niu, whether you're thinking about the Super Socko, or there's loads of other electric vehicles out there. If you've test driven one, let me know. Leave us a thumbs up, hit subscribe if you like it, you don't have to, but it'd be cool, and hopefully see you soon. Bye.